The opposition has acceded to the request of the government to be a part of this joint select committee of Parliament.
This is One Avenue, a space for your news, views, reviews, and much more. Welcome back to the space, all hopeful people. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and share the content. Turn on your post notification bell so as you drop a content, it will be instantaneously available to use. Bless up, hopeful and loyal people. Welcome back. Thank you very much for your continued support. Today on the Avenue, we will be looking at the Joint Select Committee on the Constitution Amendment Republic Act 2024, where they have a sitting today where Mark Golding declared his stance or his views going forward for the Constitution and the people of Jamaica. Some people, let us get into it and hear what Mark Golding got to say, and at the meantime, leave your comment in the comment section below and let us have that discussion. And if you are new here, welcome to the space, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Let us get into it, my people.
Leader of the opposition, I will invite you if you wish to say something.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chairperson, and I again wish you all the best for 2025.
Thank you.
Before this Joint Select Committee gets into the full business of today's initial meeting, please allow me to make a brief clarifying statement on behalf of the opposition so that both sides and the public are clear on where we are. The opposition has acceded to the request of the government to be a part of this Joint Select Committee of Parliament to deliberate on this bill, which seeks, among other things, to have Jamaica move to become a republic within the Commonwealth, and indeed we are now meeting for the first time. The aim for Jamaica to abandon the British monarchy has long been the settled public position of the People's National Party. Indeed, for several national elections, it has been a prominent feature of the party's campaign manifestos. From as far back as the 1970s, it was the subject of consideration by a committee established under the Michael Manley-led administration then. And 30 years ago, in 1995, in the report of the David Corr-chaired Joint Select Committee on Constitutional and Electoral Reform, there was full and firm acceptance by Parliament of a recommendation that the matter of Jamaica becoming a republic should be pursued in earnest. Neither party has ever veered from that well-documented position throughout the years. And I reaffirm today that the opposition wants Jamaica to become a republic, delinking from the British monarchy, and more. I also say to this committee and to the nation that as far as I am concerned, the rights, interests, benefits, and privileges of the people of Jamaica are paramount in this matter, over and above everything else in the remit of the opposition and of myself as its leader. And it is with that in the forefront of my mind that I make this preliminary statement here. Madam Chair, during this 21st century, the Jamaica Labour Party, in or out of government, has never given to the public an indication of its support for Jamaica to withdraw from the British Monarch's court, not even as an interim measure. Furthermore, by the tabling of this bill, the government has cemented its intention for the Jamaica to move away from the British monarchy while still remaining tied to the British monarch's court. The opposition that I lead, on the other hand, far from seeking to block either initiative, seeks the pursuit and success of both initiatives, two instead of one. We say time come for full decolonization. Our position rests on the foundational principle to which all political parties in democracies must abide. It remains the sacred duty of the People's National Party That principle asks the abiding question: how can the vast majority of the Jamaican people be left behind, particularly in a process of decolonization? Is it not they who colonization had made less fortunate? Why should they continue to remain deprived of the fundamental right of access to justice at the highest level? On behalf of the Jamaican people, therefore, the opposition is forced, dutifully, to pose certain questions to the government, and which we are concerned should, at this historic juncture, be recorded by Hansard. Hence, we agreed to be a part of this committee from the outset. These are our questions for the government. 1. The bills to move to the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, as Jamaica's final court of appeal, were tabled in this Parliament for the second time 10 years ago. Are the people of Jamaica not entitled to be told why the government has not tabled the CCJ bills again, thereby signaling that both sides, government and opposition, will work together to accomplish the twin objectives of transitioning both from the British monarchy and from the British monarch's court? 2. Bearing in mind that the history of the constitutional reform process over the last 30 years has, undeniably, birthed a certain distrust factor, would the government not, like the opposition, wish for that to be put behind us before embarking on this leg of the historic legislative process and referendum for Jamaica to become a republic? 3. Is the government not under a fundamental duty to explain in clear and unambiguous terms why it is determined to proceed in this piecemeal fashion, instead of using the historic opportunity of this constitutional reform process to ensure that the majority of the Jamaican people enjoy the benefit of access to justice to their highest court? After all, the CCJ, as a globally respected regional institution, has long been provided to serve this purpose and is doing so with excellence that is internationally acclaimed. 4. Would the people and we ourselves not regard it as a welcome sign of maturity and wisdom to witness an agreement between the parties on the settled way forward for success on these new constitutional arrangements, regardless of which party wins the upcoming national elections? And is this not a most appropriate juncture for that consensus to be accomplished? Madam Chair, in considering those 4 questions, we should remind ourselves that the former Prime Minister, Bruce Golding, when he opened the Charter of Rights debate in the House of Representatives in 2011, made it clear to his colleagues that for success in these initiatives, consensus is essential. That is as true now as it was then, because that is what constitutional reform requires. The 4 questions I've posed, Madam Chair, are not posed for you to answer. These are matters relating to consensus in the reform of our Constitution and require answers to be provided by the head of government himself. Those answers are long overdue. Madam Chair, the answers that are forthcoming will determine the character of the opposition's cooperation in this exercise. The opposition is pushing for both sides to work together on both initiatives. We, as the opposition, need to be convinced that there is any better way forward than that. Let me repeat and stress: we need answers to these questions because the way in which the process is moving will condemn the majority of our citizens to remaining way out of sight back there without their fundamental right of access to justice being assured, and with no guarantee of their interests ever reaching the front page. The current approach leaves the people's interests behind. It is our sacred duty to bring them forward. Madam Chair, in the name of all that is good, all that is caring, considerate, and true, this situation must, in all conscience, be remedied before there can be opposition support. The opposition has sought the answers to these questions before, and now we seek them again of the government at this game-changing juncture in the country's history. As it stands, the government is leading Jamaica into a situation in which the British monarchy would have been ditched, the head of state would no longer be in Buckingham Palace, but Jamaicans would have to obtain a visa and would have to pay many, many millions of dollars to enjoy the privilege of gaining entry into their highest court, the court of the very same abandoned British monarch. What justification can there be for preserving such a backward, self-doubting, and undesirable state of affairs? The government must answer this question and explain its insistence on a piecemeal approach, which could only be premised on a lack of self-respect and shamelessness as a people. This opposition must reject that approach. We could not support or facilitate such a proposal, and certainly not under the roof of George William Gordon House. So, Madam Chair, I wish to make it pellucidly clear that we also have some other serious concerns in relation to some of the contents of this bill, which we would wish to tackle in the deliberations of this Joint Select Committee. However, the fundamental question of access to justice in the interests of the Jamaican people must be addressed first. As such, as from the adjournment of this morning's meeting, we may ask to be excused from further participation in this committee pending the answers to these questions being given to the public by the Prime Minister. Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to say those words, and I look forward to the rest of the procedural issues being addressed.
As you can hear, my people, that's all for now, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Catch you in the next one. I'm out for now.